very, very frankly, I'll tell you, there are people in the industry who are really doing hard work. उसको सक्सेस नहीं मिलता है, दो कारण है. एक है तो लार्ज एक्सटेंट रिस्ट्रिक्टिंग एबिलिटी, पैसे नहीं होंगे तो रिस्ट्रिक्टिंग एबिलिटी कम हो जाती है. और दूसरी बात ये होती है, then nobody to groom him or make him think that you can do it. I love to work and meet youngsters now because they are full of ideas. We don't have ideas now, they have ideas. They're always willing to challenge them. और अगर आप डरेंगे नहीं ना, one thing is fear is one big factor. चाहे लाइफ में हो या धंधे में हो या किधर भी हो, fear is a big killing factor. Get out of your fear, everything will be fine. Nobody is big, nobody is small. Everybody has his own way.
Hi Ashok, welcome to Ink Stories.
Thank you very much for the invite and long overdue meeting with you.
Yeah, I've been speaking to Sagar on this, and we were contemplating will Ashok do it or Sagar do it. I mean, Ashok is the veteran who's had a legacy of 40 plus years running the business, and Sagar is the new generation who's accelerating Java paper to new heights. So we wanted both of them, and because we are not yet ready for having two guests, so I had to request him that either of Ashok or Sagar. And thanks for coming, I really appreciate it, and we are looking forward for this conversation. And we are having a large paper dealer from Mumbai talking about his experience. So would want to start with the question about what is your business, where did Java paper start and all that, a little bit around that.
See, we started off in the year 1980. 20th August 2023 is the 43rd year now.
Oh, we just completed 43 years.
Just completed 43 years. And in these 43 years, we have learned that we see Java as a company is a specialty paperboard company. And we identified that this is a part of the business that we would like to look at and make it grow. So from there, here we are right today. We've grown it to our satisfaction in a manner that we want. I hope our customers also feel the same.
I'm sure they do. That's the reason you have reached where you reached. I'm sure they would be very happy with your service and your product range.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your product range. You specialize into commercial, packaging, or mix of both. How is it?
See, initially we were doing commercial, but I can tell you, it would be fair to comment today, would be basically packaging, both for paperboard packaging as well as for flexible packaging. We could be, especially paperboard laminate, we would be perhaps very well entrenched to support any new brand or any product category, any customer, end user, or even a brand owner needs any support on.
Okay.
So by and large, we have some of the best and finest mills we work with.
Lovely.
We work with Kohler again, which is a German company. They are producers of some of the finest flexible packaging paper, both for industries where you require for food packaging, primarily for food packaging, and they also specialize in the cigarette part. They specialize for, they are perhaps the first, one of the first few players who have come out with coatings, specialty coatings, where you have heat sealable papers.
Okay.
So you can do away with plastics there.
Yeah.
So this is something new that has come up today.
Lovely.
And some of the brands you will see shortly coming onto these products, because in the Indian context we have a weather condition which requires support. So there'll be some challenges as we go along, but I'm sure we'll get there.
So what is your view in terms of papers replacing plastics, and what are your thoughts around it? Will it happen? If it will happen, to what extent, and what's your forecast of this trend of paper versus plastic?
To be very frank with you, it's not paper versus plastics.
Okay.
Yes, it is well known that one-time plastics are areas which need to be addressed, not only by the government itself, but by you and me. I mean, sustainable products have to be out of our choice and desire, not by force. See, you cannot be like already the government has regulations that you cannot use one-time plastics, but you can get a plastic one-time bag when you go and buy some vegetables in the morning. Those you'll find very funny people carrying handbags. And you may say it's old-fashioned to carry a handbag and come when you can get a bag. Why are you carrying this handbag? But for all you know, he doesn't want to buy a plastic bag. He wants to save plastic from being used.
Correct.
So you carry the bag. I think he's doing you a favor.
Right.
It's how you do it. It has to come from yourself.
You have to be responsible.
You have to be responsible. Individual has to take the responsibility of what's good for the environment. I mean, I don't have to profess anything, but it's available on the internet that what plastics are damaging the environment. Everything is well known. I think
plastics, if used sensibly and recycled in a proper way, I think plastics per se, we've had some guests in the past who are from the plastic industry and are working a lot in recycling. So what I've been able to gather from them is that plastics primarily have got a bad name, more so because they're not recycled properly, it's just thrown. Littering is a bigger problem than the usage of plastics. I mean, what's your views around that?
See, in the Indian context, we don't have a collection
mechanism.
So
True.
you need to have a proper collection mechanism. So you can address issues. And it has to again come from you and me. We have to decide, you need to put the plastic here, the paper here, the metal here. You have separation of that. Worldwide, all the wastes are separated out. And it comes from the government man. It doesn't come from the government. May have directives. Government incentivizes you. You use recyclable products, you are taxed lower. I think finally it's a matter of time. Even in countries like India, you'll find it coming. It's a matter of time.
True. So let's go a little back to in terms of how did you get into the paper business? Do you have a background? Did your family was into paper or something? I mean, in terms of how did this entire thing happen?
All right. It's the first generation business, to be frank with you, started by me.
Actually, you started the business, okay.
Yes, I started the business. And when I started the businesses in those days were very small. And the entire market size was very small.
True.
Very few producers in India.
Why did you choose paper?
To be frank with you, I worked for a little time with my brother who was a printer.
Okay.
And I realized that that's the wrong end of the business because, as you say, हाथ काला पीला होता है. So I decided let's go to the better end of the business. Paper is both money as well as paper. So let's look at that. Unfortunately, we were catering to a certain segment of the business that was the beedi living in the good old days. And that was more.
That's how you started in BD labels. I think many of the people, at least the bigger ones, started with that segment because I think they had huge volumes. Even today, I'm sure they would be having. But there are other markets also which has large volumes.
Today the markets are there, but they're not as large as they would be.
True.
Because also a lot of things have changed in this market.
You mentioned that there's good money, but I hear from a lot of paper dealers कि पैसा ही नहीं है, हम लोग तो ऐसे ये है 50 पैसे पे business कर रहे हैं, ये ऐसा है वैसा है. What are your thoughts around that?
To be very, very honest with you, you have to sell your service at a certain value you believe in. And it has to be fair.
Right.
And it also has to not, I can't say not pinch the buyer or something. Which is fair, you must charge.
Correct, obviously. Because you have a certain cost.
You have a certain cost. And if you don't recover that cost, I think it's not were pursuing that business.
Right. Then you become a financer to the customer.
Yeah, you just are transacting the transaction for
The sake.
for the sake you want to do it, be in it.
Correct. Correct.
Or we're hoping that maybe tomorrow things will be better.
So you have a professional setup now. Obviously, your son and I believe you have other members in the family also
Yeah.
in the business.
I have a large support from my younger brother who's with me.
Great.
He is also my man Friday,
Lovely.
to be very frank with you. And a big support, I would tell you. A really
I'm
big
sure.
support. Maybe I'm a little more forward looking. He's the little break.
Conservative,
Going too fast.
wanting to hold you, don't go too fast.
Not too fast. So I like that.
That's nice. Good mix.
It's a good mix, I would say. And it's a prudent mix, I would say.
Yes, totally.
So I think that's what I would like to say. But that apart, this is a reality. What I'm telling you is reality.
So my question was probably going towards, in terms of, do you have a lot of people in your business, or it's just the family? How is your business run? Just give us a fair idea in terms of how is Java Paper run. I mean, you're doing such a large business. How is it run? Is it completely family managed?
All right, I'll be frank with you. Perhaps the blueprint is drawn up by me long back. And my brother is, of course, spearheading it now. And my son is driving it today. And I also have my niece who's, I need to tell you something more about these youngsters because they are the guys you need to look at today.
Absolutely.
One is Sagar, is a graduate, is an MBA. And when he graduated and joined, I was quite skeptical about whether he would join my business because he had a thought that I want to work in the UK and then I'll take some experience. And I think one of the most challenging things I found in my life was the business was built to a certain level of
Scale.
and I was wanting that my next generation gets involved in the business. And this guy was taking it easy, he said, I want to have a look around and have a look. And there was a little bit of a prod from his grandmother, and he said, "Come, we're going to have a look what your father is doing in the world, and report to me. Is he kuch kaam karta hai ki nahi?" yaar?" And we came to the office for 8-10 days. We wouldn't move anywhere. And then one fine day, he decided, "I'm going to work, but I'm going to work with my uncle, not with you. I will talk to him. I'll work with him, not with you, because I don't think we are going to get along." Anyway, that was history. So once he got in, and then we started moving everything to him. Now he's de facto fully running the business.
Lovely.
And there's my niece, Hema, who's also equally involved in the business. She's a graduate also, a commerce graduate. She's a lawyer.
No? Nice.
She's done an MBA. She's also highly qualified. She does all the branding of my business.
I do see her quite active on LinkedIn and various other activities from Java.
She is very active on all social circles.
So you had to do any special conniving, convincing to these youngsters क्योंकि उनके पास तो काफ़ी सारे opportunities बाहर होते होंगे या फिर probably with the kind of capital you guys would have accumulated over the years कि हम कुछ और करेंगे and why in the paper business? How did you convince them?
You're very right about this, and I tell you frankly, paper selling is not a very high-fi, lucrative, challenging business for these youngsters because it's not fancy like
it's
that.
It's not a very sexy business.
No.
लोग बोलते नहीं इसमें इतना ये
It's a very
नहीं.
trad-looking thing. You meet some printing community, you meet some difficult customers and all that. It's not the advertising world. You meet nice customers.
या कोई tech business है जिसके अंदर valuations are doubling every week.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. And there were certain questions that even my youngsters did ask us. Then they realized that they started learning the business. It's not all that bad as it looks, And they've taken charge, and now even sometimes they bring it up to me and say, "Look, we must do something else also." I said, "It's your business. You do what you like now."
Great.
And honestly, I've taken a back seat.
Okay.
So I wanted them to drive it out.
Makes sense. And while you're healthy and active in the business, being able to guide them कि कहाँ पे गलतियाँ कर रहे हैं, being able to sit behind and tell them कि ये सही है ये सही नहीं है, rather than and they being able to do the day-to-day activities. I think that's well thought out strategy. That's nice.
चलाना उनको ही है अभी आगे.
चलाना उनको ही, बिल्कुल.
The earlier they take it over, the better.
Correct. So, in terms of how important do you think is to have a big team? Or because the reason that I ask you this question is, like I see in printers and paper dealers that I see around India, many of the businesses are run by the owners or it is owner dependent. लोग ज़्यादा नहीं है, ऊपर में एक, उसके नीचे एक, खत्म, फिर बाद में पूरा वर्कर कैटेगरी है. तो आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, एंड व्हाट डू यू थिंक एंड हाउ वुड यू वांट जावा पेपर टू लुक लाइक इन द नेक्स्ट 20, 30, 50 years?
Well, I just give you a little background. We are supported by about 10 people who do our marketing.
Oh, lovely.
And they are primarily, I would say, very well trained. They have a huge exposure on the supplier side, on the products that we sell. They have equally good exposure with end users. And I think I would say reasonable to say they are reasonably well understand the product what they're selling. Our involvement is only where we have some relationship connect. But by and large, bringing the business to a fair distance of closing is done by them.
I understand. Before we started this, you mentioned something where the trading businesses, correct me if I am wrong, where the trading businesses are primarily they die after the founders because the relationship is with the owners. So throw some light. I mean, that was a very interesting point, and I'm sure people would like to know more about it.
See, generally what we, as you rightly said a little while ago, there would be only two levels of operations.
Correct.
The guy down the line is only following instructions.
Correct.
Even if you have a salesman or a salesperson, he's a glorified clerk. He's not empowered. So I strongly believe that you need to empower the people you trust. And if you empower them, they bring you fantastic results. Because they know that the management will support you. And any human being is entitled to a mistake. Because if you don't make a mistake, it means you're doing nothing.
You're not learning.
No, you're not doing anything. तो आप कर रहे हैं तो कुछ गलती भी करोगे आप.
Yes.
तो don't write him off that time. Support him.
Right.
आप खुद भी गलती करते हो तो I mean, be fair to somebody else. You should be able to take that knock. That's it.
Right.
Overlook it and say, all right, man, don't do it again. That's it.
Let's try again.
Yeah.
Learn from this mistake.
I think that's the
attitude that we should have. Yeah. Makes sense. So, Ashok ji, in terms of your experience of like 43 years since 1980 that you started, can we know some good and bad experiences, some nuggets of wisdom, of legacy that you have had of the last 43 years? Kuch stories of this period, good and bad both, in terms of you scaling up the business. Like you told earlier, जब आपने चालू किया था business almost zero से चालू किया था because your brother was a printer. So right from there to what you do today, so how has the journey been? Some experiences, some stories.
I think the first thing that was a big number for me was in 85, I went to Japan and I found a new paper mill there. In the good old days, we used to have NK Flying Horse as an art paper we imported in India. And we found a new company there called Sanyo Kokusaku Pulp Company.
Okay.
And we decided to import the first consignment, which was 51 tons at that time. Way back in 85, which generally people would order 3 or 5 tons. And we had that courage because we had a huge buyer who had probably taken about 25 tons of that stock from me. It was a company called Bajaj Auto.
Okay, but why would Bajaj Auto need paper?
They have a huge calendar requirement.
Okay.
So that was the first big break. It gave me some handsome money at that time. So that was the first thing I remember. You saw some big money coming
So
through.
you had that ability to take that risk of importing 51 tons, and हो सकता है कि इधर आके वो order cancel हो जाए, but then you had that.
नहीं ऑर्डर कैंसिल होने की बात ही नहीं थी, ऑर्डर था हाथ में, तभी तो
order.
हिम्मत हुई.
अच्छा.
So after the order, immediately I flew down there and decided to go ahead with it, get it down here. That was one thing which was the first thing that I remember. The second was, of course, my association with Sanders, along with my very dear friend Rohit. That was a brand was close to my heart, and I learned a lot from them. They understood branding very well.
Okay. Any specific incidents?
Well, the first experience of visiting the stall was itself an experience, I would say. The way they receive you, the way they read you out, and then they assess you. And then once you get going, all the doors, everything are open to you, and you have good assessment. That was a very good experience with them.
Any other experience in terms of the like brands that you work? You see a commonality between now a lot of paper mills from India are growing. You know, ITC is doing some phenomenal job, and and there are these companies from the West, Europe specifically, who have ruled the paper market for so many years. So, what kind of commonalities you see, or where do you see that we need to improve?
See, I can tell you one thing about ITC. We've been working with them from 1980. And we have understood one thing, this company understands value. They understand product. They understand placement. And they would definitely help you out to grow. They will groom you like a child.
Nice.
And once they are convinced that you're the right candidate, they throw up everything for you. It's a very, very nice company to work with. I can certainly vouch for that.
Yeah, I mean, I the kind of work that these guys are doing, and their stock price has skyrocketed in the last couple of months, and the not only, I mean, their focus on non-cigarette category of FMCG, I think, is phenomenal. I'm sure paper is close to us, so yes, they're doing some great job in paper as well.
There you'll see a lot of things happening in ITC soon. But I can tell you about the paperboard business. Also, there's a lot of things happening. They will continuously keep growing, and they have a long-term plan in this. So we'll see that. Since we are a part of that organization, we'll also piggyback and grow with them.
I'm sure many of our viewers would want me to ask this question. I'm assuming would be on the pricing of paper. You know, there's so much of volatility. So, what has been your views that why is the prices being so volatile? कभी ऊपर जाता है, कभी नीचे आता है. What are the main reasons?
Okay, and it's not very far off. We had a year and a half ago, we had a big shipping crisis. So all the raw materials that you get here were sky high. Shipping freights were almost 3 to 5 times higher. You couldn't get your cargo here. You could not export cargo. It was very difficult times. Last year, weather forecasts can be, many places like Chile, which is a big supplier of wood, had problems with their weather. We had massive issues on supplies of wood.
Okay.
So even weather is a true.
I'm sure.
We had shipping issues. We had supply issues. China was being very difficult on the shipping because they couldn't get vessels. So there were a lot of issues.
So you foresee this kind of volatility in the next couple of months as well?
No, you cannot predict these things. They happen. No, okay, who can predict COVID?
It's beyond your control.
Who could predict COVID? There's never been a COVID before.
In the last 100 years.
I think, last
Spanish
time,
flu.
Yeah.
100 साल पहले हुआ.
100 साल पहले. This thing happened, people changed their lives. Suddenly you realize that money is nothing. You suddenly realize that safety of life is important. You suddenly value your family. You value, relationships mean a lot.
I'm sure. Any a tough experience, challenging experience that you had in your 43 years of business? Anything that you remember?
Plenty of them.
Anything that you would want to share with viewers?
Well, the COVID times were very tough for business, very, very tough. But again, I would like to add here, there used to, over lunch, we used to have very nice meetings along with my niece. And she would say, okay, we're going to have problems. There's a problem of COVID cases coming up. That was not so noisy, but you wouldn't get food and this and that. And she would say, okay, I'm trying to stock up some food and all that. I started laughing over lunch and I said, look, we're in Bombay, you'll never die starving of food in Bombay. I never realized a few days later I had to eat my words because everything was shut. On March 22nd, everything was shut down.
Correct.
And luckily for us, we were blessed, I would say. My niece had decided that we should at least have all our, systems on the cloud. 1 week before this episode, our entire system moved on to cloud.
Oh, lovely. We were lucky.
We were really lucky, I would say, really lucky. And thanks to Hema that we could push through these times, difficult times, we had some challenges, but we could get through things and we were bang on time. So we had our businesses going on, maybe in a reduced format.
I'm sure.
But,
I can understand.
There was no standstill.
Nice. Correct. So, with your experience, you have any advice for the youngsters who are coming into business, probably be in the paper or printing or any other industry for that matter, with 43 years of experience? What would you say? What is important? Is it cash? Is it experience? Is it working somewhere else? Kya matter karta hai?
I would say a small little, I don't think I would be fair to comment everything, but I can say only a simple thing which anybody can do it, is be fair, be realistic, charge fairly, you will be there. If any of this is missing, and most important, trust and respect of your customer. If you haven't got that, you'll never get it.
Any thing that you remember that your customers have valued in terms of कि आप लोगों ने जो differently किया है?
One thing that in the most difficult times, we never taken advantage of the situation.
How important that is when you don't squeeze a customer just because you have an opportunity.
No. No, because the reason is, I can tell you very frankly, opportunities, even last year, prices have gone up exponentially. We have not disturbed the value table. And now the prices have reversed. Our customers have not disturbed us. I'll be very happy to say they have fully supported us. And let me be frank with you, a good customer, without saying any words, understands. You don't have to say these things, it's understood.
Understand, right? Actually, very true of what you said in terms of being able to be a partner to your customer and standing with him so that he stands with you in your challenging times.
I can tell you, they reciprocate.
Yeah.
They reciprocate. It's also on how you have been treating them. They should realize that in your fair treatment.
Agree. Nice. Very good. Thanks. Really appreciate good words of wisdom from a man who's been in the industry for the last 43 years.
I'm a very down-to-earth man.
No doubt about it. But experience matter करता है ना. Someone who's seen things for a while, तो वो definitely matter करता है. I mean, someone like probably me who's been working for the last 18-19 years, a mix of working and business, compared to someone who's senior or someone who's new, obviously they bring in fresh perspectives, but someone who is a veteran, there are a lot of things that one can learn, and that's the whole idea about.
I think you rightly said something which is very important today. I love to work and meet youngsters now because they are full of ideas. We don't have ideas now, they have ideas. And they're always willing to challenge them. and they will come up with ideas. It's good to have a session with them to understand what they're thinking.
But if I may ask, how do you meet them? I mean, you are part of some association. How do you meet?
No, I generally.
I mean, besides Sagar and Hema,
my
fair enough.
friends, they came over. I have a chat. Somebody's doing.
Okay.
I can say somebody just now got a pee, and he was telling Uncle, I got a pee. This is what I'm doing, and they such.
Anyone who's willing to come and speak to, or you wanting to reach out to them, is always
I
a
talk
piece
to them
of,
openly.
yeah.
I say, क्या कर रहे हो अभी? क्या नया क्या है?
नया क्या हो रहा है?
And I'm quite pleasantly surprised. The youngsters have gone and taken some private equity investments.
Lovely.
And
I think what you rightly said, no, नए generation के पास ideas हैं.
Ideas. Now, one of them I know started a small thing. I asked him, boss, अभी आगे क्या करोगे? Now you sold a part of your business, you sold so much of your stake. Well, uncle, I know one thing. At the end of this, in 3 years, I will get so much money, and I'm going to take a break after that for 1 year. I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to go and rethink what I'm going to do next. Now, okay, this is the way a youngster can think. Accept it. Don't try and tell him, look, यार तुम 50 साल का ये पेपर ही बेचो. You may not want to do it. You don't know.
And do you see consolidation happening in the paper industry?
It must happen. It's good for the industry.
Lot many players.
No, not lot of players with working, I would say, not doing good to themselves or to the buyer or to the suppliers also. Because I don't know either the value perception that they think of is just about enough to keep them happy. But I don't know whether they can grow with that sort of value. See, in a business you lose sometimes, so you must also have something to pay that loss.
Scale is important. You can't be running business. You can start small, but over a period of time you need to build scale. If scale is not there, you cannot grow and you cannot take care. You cannot build systems, you can't build processes, you can't build teams.
Team building is a very good exercise. And if you are able to build a team of some substance, it's a very gratifying thing.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to take too much of your time, and in the interest of our viewers also like to listen to episodes around 30 minutes. So I'm moving towards the last two questions which we generally have for all our guests. One of them is I wanted to have someone from the Java family, and thanks for coming. I really appreciate you being there.
Thank you for inviting me, I would say.
That's so kind of you. So you have anyone in mind who you can think of, anyone from the industry who could be a part, share, or whose journey you would like to listen to? Is there someone that you can think of?
Okay, you could probably speak to Narendra of Pragati.
Narendra Pachauri, yeah. And many people have put their suggestion. Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to reach out to him. Since we do this podcast in Mumbai and we're just waiting for him to travel and get the dates, we're trying to connect with him. Yeah, thanks. I think he's a wonderful guy and he's done phenomenal work.
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the last question that I have is more for us to know so that we can improve. How do you, you've done the podcast now, how do you find it, and any words of advice for us in terms of doing it better?
Choose your right speakers for your next podcast. Simple. Actually, very frankly, only on one-on-one basis I can tell you. You pick some of the small guys because they will tell you their challenges. क्या है?
So you're advising to pick the bigger guys or the smaller guys?
Smaller guys.
Smaller guys.
Smaller guys.
Okay.
Because उसका जो challenges है ना, they would be actually more fruitful for your listeners and viewers. Okay, what are the challenges he faces to grow?
Correct.
Very, very frankly, I'll tell you, there are people in the industry who are really doing hard work. उसको सक्सेस नहीं मिलता है, दो कारण है. एक है तो लार्ज एक्सटेंट रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी, पैसे नहीं होंगे तो रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी कम हो जाती है. और दूसरी बात ये होती है, then nobody to groom him or make him think that you can do it. That's also a thing like you can do it. आप पहले ही हार जाते हो अपने पास, तो then you already lost the battle.
Right.
You also must believe that I can do it.
Correct.
I can tell you frankly, your worst loss, you can come out of it, provided you believe that there's a way out. The day you don't believe that, you are anyway doomed. I used to have a point when I had a bad time. I remember I used to say one thing, यार अभी तो ग्राउंड पे अंडरग्राउंड थोड़ी जाएंगे यार, अभी तो ऊपर ही जाएंगे.
ऊपर ही जाएंगे. True.
तो इफ यू स्टार्ट थिंकिंग अभी तो मैं अंडरग्राउंड जाने वाला हूँ, वो होने वाला नहीं है कभी. You have to change your mindset immediately.
The bottom is defined.
Your bottom is defined. There's no way different for anybody.
Right.
Only your mindset is different.
Right.
और अगर आप डरेंगे नहीं ना, one thing is fear is one big factor. चाहे लाइफ में हो या धंधे में हो या किधर भी हो, fear is a big killing factor. Get out of fear, everything will be fine. Nobody is big, nobody is small. Everybody has his own way. आपको हर चीज में छोटे आदमी का जरूरत पड़ता है.
Correct.
The fact of life I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a management saying, if you come from the top, you have so much resistance down, you can't get places. If you go from the bottom up, you'll have so many supporters by the time you reach the
Everyone
top.
will probably like you.
And
they will want, and they'll do their best to push you upwards.
They'll push you up. There will be people pushing you down.
Great. Thanks. I really appreciate. It's been nice talking to you.
It's my pleasure too. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Thanks.
And thanks for having me over.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks you.
Thanks.